Okay, so to begin our class, we're going to lie down over our props. So I have myself sitting at the end here with the blankets or whatever you have, and then lying back over the bolster. And we'll start with our knees bent so that the feet land on the ground there. And as long as it feels okay to do so, let's reach those arms out to the sides. You can explore to what height it feels good to open up here. So if it felt a little too much of a stretch, you might bring those arms a little bit lower. And as we get comfortable here, you're more than welcome to close your eyes. Get a little bit of release or settling back feeling. Let the props assist that gentle opening across the front of the chest here. Release any tension that you might feel at the tops of the shoulders or around the face or jaw. And now connect to the breath, and as you're breathing in and out through your nose, let's breathe in a manner that it feels like you're creating some space internally. So bringing in that expansion, that spaciousness. Let the exhales come out fully, no hurry, long, smooth breaths. You might direct that breathing into what it feels like your center. So taking those breaths into the center, from the inside, that felt sense of center. And in this moment, connect to what is your heartfelt desire. So what is it that you feel you need? Let this happen from a body-felt sense rather than a thinking sense. In this moment, what is your heartfelt desire? This can be anything. And sometimes it lands in a way of one word or maybe a little phrase. And continue to rest here just for a few more moments. Arms open, that sense of gentle stretch and openness across the front body there. Relax shoulders, relax face. Sense the feet on the ground. Check in with your neck posturing now and just make sure that the chin isn't poking up. You might want to tuck the chin in and down a little. And then let's go ahead and walk the feet a little bit wider. So we still have those bent knees. The feet go a little towards the edges of the mat and let the knees drop in towards one another. And then with the arms, if you lift them up a little bit, we could try to find, I call it cactus arm position, so the elbows are bent at a 90-90 angle here. And then we open this up a little bit more. So with this position, I don't necessarily reach my arms to the ground. If you're not sure, you can just take a little look here. Get this slightly more deep stretch across the chest and into the shoulders. Good, and then we'll close the arms. So we'll bring those arms up. And let's do a little hug across the chest. So just like you're giving yourself a hug. Wiggle or walk those fingers to the backs of the shoulders there. And then start to walk the feet in so that the feet are together. And as long as everything's feeling okay for you, you can let the knees open out to the sides. So open angle position here with a little bit of a hug. And we're really tucking that chin in and down. Let's pause here for a little moment. You can free the arm hug and just release the arms to your sides for a moment. Stay with that open knees for a couple more breaths here. Good, and then let's go ahead and close the knees together again. Get the sense of those feet grounding. And we're going to pick up one leg so that we draw one knee in towards us now. So as you do that, if you're on a bolster, sometimes it can be a little tippy, just go slow. Bring the knee in, drawing it towards the chest to where it feels comfortable. And let's stretch out the other leg. As long as that feels okay to do, you're lengthening it out and giving it a sort of stretch or push away feeling. Now this leg that's been reaching out or stretched long, let's return it to a bent position so the foot's back on the ground. And the knee that you're holding, let's change our hands and see if we can get a hold of the back of the thigh now. Going to take a little reach up with that leg now. So stretch that leg up, heel towards the ceiling. Go to where it's comfortable. You might not get it all the way straight. If it feels like you might like to add a little bit of ankle motion here, sometimes you'll see me point and flex. You're welcome to add that. Staying steady here through the breath and feeling that anchoring through that other foot on the ground. Good, and then from this position, we're going to take this leg that's reaching up and let it come down and stretch out on the ground. And also now both arms reaching overhead. And for a moment here, we're going to reach in opposite directions. So one leg and both arms stretching away from one another. Take a couple breaths, filling and creating space internally. Good, and then as we release, we come back to both legs being bent, feet on the ground. Adjust if your back feels like it needs it. And then slowly pick up this other knee, bringing it into the chest here. Starting with that position here, just anchoring in there. And then once you feel ready, you could try that stretch out with the other leg again onto the ground. So slow transitions here, taking our time. Good, now the outstretched leg returns to a bend, foot's on the ground. Change your hold of this leg that's lifted, back of the thigh, and begin to stretch that leg up. Explore to where that point is. It feels just right. Giving this little hold. Keep the shoulders relaxed, neck relaxed. Maybe adding in that movement through the foot and ankle again. Good, and then once we've done that for just a little bit, we release that leg to a bend and then let it come down onto the ground, outstretched. Let's add those arms one more time, reach it overhead. and a lengthening feel here. Okay, come out of that. We're going to be rising up to a sitting position next, and I just want to note that where your hips are resting on that folded blanket surface, or that little block if you have it, we're going to be just staying on that for a seat. So help yourself up however works best for you. And you might need to rearrange a little bit, but I'm just staying where I'm at. I've got my legs in front and my knees are bent, and you might put a little bit of space between the feet, whatever's most comfortable. We're going to take a little lean forward now. So it shouldn't feel like a big deep stretch for the legs because we're keeping the knees bent, and we're just getting a little light stretch into the back. So the back can be a bit rounded here. Come to this sort of little release through the upper body too. Maybe the head hangs a touch. That's where maybe having those knees apart helps. Just finding that quietness here for a couple more breaths. Nice, and we'll just roll that back up to a tall sit. Okay, one leg will stretch out now. It doesn't matter which side. And the other knee stays bent. Maybe bring it in a little closer. We're going to take it into a twist. So whichever knee is up, with the opposite hand you hold the knee, and then the other hand is going to be reaching behind you. If you still have that bolster or blanket behind you, it's perfect. You can just land it on there. Hopefully you've got something so that you're not having to reach in free space there. And we're rotating our body, getting that rotation happening towards the bent knee side, and maybe adding a little head turn too to look over the back shoulder. Let's hang out here another 3 breaths. Lifting tall through the posture as you hold. There, and then come out and we'll switch it over. Another leg out, yep, opposite hand to the knee, rotate, reach up through the crown of the head. Use the hand to help a little bit, right? We're pulling that knee in. Tops of the shoulders can release down away from the ears. Connect to the breath here. Good, and then let's release. Excellent, okay. So I still have my setup here. And if you've lost it, maybe find it again. And we're going to lay over it on our fronts now. So the hips go at that blanket level, and the body goes over the bolster here. And we just want to get it so that maybe the chin reaches to the end of that bolster, hopefully. And your hands are down on the ground. We're going to be getting some moving cobras going here. So those legs are stretched long, and hopefully the toes are touching down to the ground. And we're breathing in and lifting up into our cobra position to where that feels good. Exhale and lower down. So that's the pattern. Just kind of move up and down at your own pace here. Exploring that back bend and that opening feeling through the front of the body. It's my experience that when I'm in this setup with the bolsters that I can usually come up a little bit higher, at least more towards a straighter arm. But you're just going to where that's feeling safe for your back. So let's do the moving with breath a couple more rounds. And on your last time, you might choose to hold the position if that's feeling welcome through the back. Sometimes a little bit of engagement through the legs, really giving them a good stretch back. So lifting and opening through the front chest here. Your gaze could be straight ahead, or maybe some of you even want to tilt up, just looking a little upwards for a moment. You're coming down if you need. Good. Now, as I think about coming out, I will release a little bit out of that back bend, but then I'm just going to be on the move here. So I've got those hands pressing down, and then now I bring the hips up and back. We're going to go into our child's pose. Sometimes the props land perfectly, and you can just keep them there if you put your forehead down on them. If that's cumbersome or you don't like that, you can move them. So coming back, hips to heels, widen those knees if you wish. Forehead may be connecting to the props or the ground, and you just let the arms relax, stretching in front there. And as we rest here, we're staying put, finding some way of being in this pose that feels comfortable, reconnecting to the breath, reconnecting to that sense of grounding, a gentleness as we stay and just checking in with how we're feeling here. Okay, one more breath in and out. And we begin a transition again. We begin to lift. All right, now I'm just going to mention that I'm going to be using my bolster for a downward dog now. And again, if you don't have a bolster, you could be using those folded blankets. And of course, you could do this without the props under your hands too. So one thing we do need to be sort of checking in with is if we're using the bolster under the hands, if there's an issue with a slide on your mat, maybe your mat's not as sticky as mine, and that would be a little bit dangerous. You'd want to go to a wall maybe, or just don't use it. Okay, so the idea here is I got the toes tucked under, the hands down on that bolster, lifting the knees and hips up. Feet step in a little bit. We work on trying to lengthen out through this upper body, reaching through the arms, along through the spine, and settling down with the heels. Gaze would be towards your feet. Staying with the breath here. Okay, so then as we come out of our downward dog, it just happens to work perfectly for me to land my knees down on those blankets. I don't know if your setup landed that way, but don't hesitate to put some padding under your knees right now. And we're coming up and we're going to be going into a lunge. So I've lifted. If this feels a little unsteady, put your hand to the wall, maybe prop your hand on something. Let's step our left leg forward first. Now in this lunge today, you can choose to stay more elevated right above the knee with the hip alignment. Or if you want something deeper, you can kind of shift that front foot forward more and lunge it a bit more. And I'm going to let you choose. We're going to be doing a second step here. So either staying back or lunged. And then once you've found that position, let's reach our right arm up. The left hand just stays on the knee. A little bit of a side lean over to the left. And it's just a hint of a lean. I'm just going to turn around so I can see here. Yeah, it looks like you've got it. Let's stay here for a couple more breaths. Breathe into that right side. There, and then come out and let's just take our time through that transition to get the other side done. So there should be the right foot forward next. Adjusting just into this basic lunge or maybe a little deeper with a shift forward with the hips. And then once you found that, left arm is up. Reach it long through that left side, open through that rib cage. Maybe draw the tummy in just a hint as you lean it over to the right. One more breath. Good, and coming out. As we step that leg back, at this moment, I would like to offer a second downward dog or a second child's pose. I'm going to do the second downward dog again with my hands on the bolster. Maybe you want to go to the floor level. Sometimes when you do it a second time, you can sense how things feel a little bit different. Maybe there's a little bit more space to move into it. Really working on tilting those sit bones up towards the ceiling if you're here in down dog with me. Steady breath. And on your next exhale, let's return those knees down to the ground or your blankets if they're there. And I'm coming up one more time to this high kneeling position. And just for a little moment, let's go into a shoulder stretch here. I've got my hands clasping behind my back, and I'm starting to pull the shoulders back, squeeze the blades together, lift through the chest, and maybe a little bit of straightening out with those arms. Openness across the front body again. Maybe just a hint of lifting up that chin. Take the breath in to fill into that front chest area. Good, and then let that release. And we'll just kind of swing those arms out and help ourselves off our knees. Okay. Now I'm going to be changing things to a seated position next. And as I arrive in my seated position, you're more than welcome to be sitting up on a blanket. If you could use a little bit of height, I'm just going to take one. So this will be the position we're going into. One leg is outstretched to the side, and the other knee is bent. Yeah, looks like we're getting there. Now, a couple things to note for your props is if this knee doesn't like to settle down very low, you could grab any kind of cushion or another blanket and give it a little prop underneath. It gives it some support. Or if you're sitting really high and you have a lot of space under this outstretched leg, sometimes filling that space helps. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate a move with the bolster, but you can leave that out if you don't have that. Essentially what we're doing is we're leaning down towards the outstretched leg. And for today, what I was going to do is with the arm on the opposite side is reach it at the same angle as that outstretched leg and rest my hand on top. So if you were to visualize this without the bolster, you could just sort of come into this one here with no support under the hand, or if you really preferred, hand down. The support provides a little bit of opportunity to get more heavy and relaxed into the upper body, so a bit more passive into the posture. Notice how you've got connection with your base, your seat through the ground there, or those blankets. Notice where you're feeling that sensation through this side bend. Maybe direct the breath in towards those places where you're feeling the sensation. And staying for one more breath. And we come out of that. And take your time. Give those legs a little shake. No rush at all. We'll get the other side going right away. Okay, so approaching it slowly as you get set up here. Remembering that bolster option if you like it. With that other arm, the opposite arm there. So noticing how this side compares as you start to sense your way into the experience more and more. Long, smooth breaths. See if you can relax a little in that upper body, neck and shoulders. If anything's starting to feel a little too intense, you can always just back out just a touch. Going by feel here, rather than by how it looks. Or how you think it should be. Okay, we're starting to think about our lift up and out from this side now. And just move that over. Good. Now as we come out, some of you might stay seated on that blanket if it's there, or you could come to the ground. You want to be able to reach your hands behind you, just landing the hands to the ground level. And the feet will widen with this bent knee position in front. We're going to do some of those seated windshield wipers now. Just let that roll over, rocking through the hips there. One knee travels down. Let's take this over into that twist. So if everybody comes down with the left knee, just make sure you're on your base there. You will pick up that left arm and then swing it or bring it around to the back, turning your body as you go a little bit here. And I do have my left hip lifting. So just pause into this rotation position here for a breath. Just a brief little moment. Good, and then let's swivel that over to the other side. So rock those knees to the to the left. Get that one knee down and take that right hand to the back there. Try to keep the spine lifting and lengthening. Get another breath. Great, and then let's come out. Okay. So from a seated position, we're going to go into a meditation today. And in this moment, if you preferred to have some back support, you could lean against something. That's no problem. Your legs could be however you wish. And you can be sitting up high again. I'm just going to be in basic crisscross leg position. But do feel free to have something slightly different. So once you get arranged, get a sense of that fairly lifted, tall position through your posture. Hands can rest down on the knees or wherever those legs are. And the shoulders release a little from the ears, and maybe the eyes close, or if you would rather, you could look down towards the ground. So today, as we come into this, we're going to choose a mantra for ourselves. So a mantra could be just like one word or a short phrase of something that seems significant for you. And I might encourage that you check back to the beginning of your class, to that heartfelt desire, if anything came up for you there. Maybe there was a word or phrase from that that you might connect to. And if nothing's coming to mind, and that's totally fine, I'm just going to give out a couple examples. So if you already have it, just ignore this. Something like, I have time, or relax, or peace and calm, or ease and flow, or maybe you need some healing. So may I be healed, or love and kindness, or let go. So those are just some ideas, some suggestions, maybe something connected for you there. So hopefully you're settling into your mantra now. And let's just take in a couple long, smooth breaths together. Feel that breath come and go. And then we're going to start repeating our mantra. And if you're in a setting where you feel comfortable to speak it out loud, you're welcome to do that. If that's not comfortable for you, you might just sort of whisper it or shape the words with your mouth without sound. So you're starting to repeat your mantra. And you're trying to find a rhythm to this. So there might be like a natural way this is coming out for you, but just an example, you could split the words and do part on the inhale and then part on the exhale. Or maybe the whole mantra gets just recited on the exhales, or both inhale and exhale. So that's for you to determine, maybe depending on the length. So let's just stay with that rhythm, repeating of our mantra, connecting to the sounds that the words make. And in this moment, if you are outwardly stating your mantra, now bring it into silence, repeating the sound of the words internally, experiencing it from the inside. We're doing our best to stay attuned to the mantra and the sounds. And if thoughts come up that take you away from the experience, know that that's normal. When you realize that happens, you're redirecting your attention back to the mantra, back to the sounds, back to the breath. And let's continue this for another minute here together in silence. Okay, and we're going to start to make our way out of this meditation just with maybe a couple breaths that feel a little deeper. And noticing how you're feeling here. You roll those shoulders around a couple times, and we'll be bringing those eyes open if they're not. Good, okay. Let's move now again so that we're out of the seated position. And next we're going to be finding a side lying position. So maybe bring one of those blankets with you, or a cushion, and we could use it as a pillow. Come on down to whichever side is comfortable first. We have our knees bent in front. The shoulder that you're lying on, you want to make sure that you shift that arm and shoulder a little forward and roll a little bit onto the blade. And with your top arm, we're going to open it up, reaching up and then off to that opposite side and rolling open with the upper body into that twist. So if this feels a little intense, you're more than welcome to take a little break and come out and kind of move in and out of it a couple times. Or you can be staying here with a hold. As you rest into it, sometimes you'll notice that arm feeling like it gets a little bit lower to the ground or a little heavier into the ground. Always check in with your neck alignment when you're here with this twist. Making sure that the head feels in line with the spine, the back of the neck is long. Relax the hands and the feet. And just being here with the breath for a few more moments. And now we're going to be closing this up and just coming back to the side. Take your time there, no hurry. And then when you feel ready, we'll transition to roll it onto our other side. You might just flip over or turn here. Good, so you know where you're headed here. We're just going to get into that twist. Make sure those knees are up. Underarm there reaches forward or shifts forward a little. Open that up into that twist. Feel free to let the eyes close for a few moments. Get a sense from what's happening from the inside here, body and breath, any feelings or thoughts. Great, and then we release back to our side lying position. Okay, so I'd like to roll onto our backs next, and most likely you won't need that pillow. And you're more than welcome to have a little bit of a lift underneath the head. I'm just going to clear those props. Make sure you feel warm in this moment. Might even need a little sweater. Now, as we first come here, Let's do some more of those windshield wipers, but this time from lying. So walk those feet wide, edges of the mat, and the knees swaying left and right. Let those hips roll and lift a little. Okay, now I'm going to come into an outstretched position with the legs. So walk the feet in, let the legs stretch out, and let a little arch form into your back. So it feels on purpose a little extra arch or exaggerated. And we're going to bring those arms in close to the sides of the body. I usually like to bend my elbows, my fingertips point up towards the ceiling there. I'm wiggling my shoulder blades together a little bit into that upper back. And I push down into the backs of the arms and I rise up a little extra through the chest, and you can feel those back muscles engage. The back of the head is still resting into the ground there. Tops of the shoulders draw back, opening here. Staying with this little bit of effort to create this lift here just for a few more moments. Breathe into that center there again. Good, and then let that release, nice and gentle, get the back sort of flattening a little bit. Step those legs in, and let's go to a hug of both knees towards the chest now. And as usual, I'm often rocking a little bit with this one. Okay, so let's just finish up one last little move here when you get those feet back down to the ground. We're going to give out a little option for this one. If you have a bolster or just a rolled blanket here, what we're going to maybe do, not everyone may want to try this, but lift the hips and then slide that underneath your hips. So there's a little bit of that supported bridge feel here. It doesn't have to be too high. And do feel free to do this next one with the hips down on the ground if you would rather. So we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee here. And we're going to try to get it so that the legs come up and bring both those legs in towards the chest. Now you can adjust that prop that's under your hips to wherever it feels sort of most stable or helping to kind of create this angle where your legs naturally fall in towards you. So maybe with the prop under your hips, you don't even need to use your hands to hold this position in, but you are welcome to do that too. So the intention and the hope here is to feel a little stretch into that right hip or gluteal region. Some of us might feel the low back stretching a little too. Letting the upper body relax here. Great, and we'll release, foot back down, get that leg back uncrossed, and then we'll go right away into our second side, left ankle over the right knee. And then just bring that in when you're ready. Check in with that support leg, the right leg. Notice your knee joint. See if you can let it relax a little here. Okay, we'll bring that down. And if it feels like you're ready to come off of that little support, go ahead and move it out. Take another couple moments if you need, there's no hurry. And we are coming down into our final rest position now. So most often in a traditional way, we've got those legs outstretched, but there's that opportunity to maybe put the bolster under the knees, or if you needed to bend the knees, no problem. And a blanket over top if you're cold. And just get yourself starting to settle here. Definitely welcoming in those closed eyes. Do a little scan inwardly and notice the body and just checking in with all those different muscles and joint spaces. Getting a sense of letting things rest back, releasing the tension. Let the body soften here. Let the expression across the face smooth out, release any holding there. And breathe in some openness again, breathing into the free space within the body. Maybe you can notice it's just a little more free now, the end of our class. Steady, easeful mind, gentle breaths. Experience that sense of center within again, wherever that is for you. And from this place, visualize a light at your core, a warm, glowing light. This light has capacity for healing and calming. This subtle energy from the light, and we're going to visualize it spreading and expanding out, moving through the open spaces to fill all parts of the body. Bringing that light and healing energy throughout. And getting a sense of the body feeling warm. And a feeling of internal harmony, calmness. And keeping that sense of openness through all those channels of the body, that light permeating from within. Return your attention back into the core, back to the center. Place where the light source emerged. Simply staying present to that part, to that point. Notice any thoughts or feelings from this place. And return back to the awareness and the steadiness of the breath coming and going. And then start to gently shift your awareness more to the perimeter of your body, a little bit more outwards. Maybe just getting that sense of grounding again, or that awareness of the space around you. See if you can, for a moment, just be aware of that internal presence and outer experience at the same time. And perhaps today, as we wrap up our class, just hope to bring that sense of peacefulness and calm that you might have created here from class back out with you to the rest of your day. And finishing with a couple breaths that bring in just a little bit more air, a little bit more energy again. Just sort of bring that energy back to wake up now. Eyes might be opening, body starts to move a little. And take your time with this transition, but have a return back to sitting when you're ready. This is a way to return that energy and recollect. Okay, so not sure where everybody's at home, just if you're still lying, there's no hurry. I'm just going to say, when you arrive to your seat, you might just check in with the neck and shoulders a little bit. And at your own time, I'll just say goodbye now. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.